The first call came in just after 8 on a quiet Friday night. A 5-year-old boy had been shot in the face on Savannah Terrace, SE. His injuries were not life-threatening, but for Washington, D.C., it was another wound to a city already bleeding. If stories like this fascinate you, hit subscribe, because this one only gets darker. Police had barely arrived on scene when another call came through. And then another. Within hours, dispatchers' radios were lighting up across the map: Howard Place NW, Benning Road NE, Yuma Street SE, Hyatt Place NW, and 2 more addresses scattered between the city's east and northwest corridors. By the time the clock hit 2 a.m., at least 7 separate shootings had taken place across the district, leaving 11 people injured, including the child. At the scene on the 600 block of Howard Place Northwest, the flashing lights painted the brick row houses blue and red. Police found 5 victims there: 3 men, 1 woman, and a teenage boy, all conscious but bleeding. Witnesses said it happened fast. A car pulled up, doors opened, and shots echoed down the street. Moments later, 2 suspects were in custody. 3 weapons were recovered. Officers said it looked like chaos, panic spreading through a neighborhood that had been celebrating Howard University's homecoming weekend just blocks away. Meanwhile, detectives at other scenes were struggling to keep up. Every few miles, another corner was sealed off with yellow tape. The night felt endless. Across the city, families waited for updates, scrolling through news alerts, praying their loved ones weren't on the list. Police Chief Pamela Smith called it one of the most violent single nights D.C. had seen in recent months. "We're investigating these incidents aggressively," she said at a late-night briefing. "We need the community's help." The motive? Still unclear. The timing? Disturbing. 7 shootings within roughly 9 hours, some within minutes of each other. By dawn, shell casings were being counted, evidence markers lined the streets, and neighbors whispered the same uneasy question: was it coincidence, or something organized? Investigators weren't ready to say. But one fact was undeniable: the city had just endured a night that felt less like random violence, and more like a message written in gunfire. By sunrise, the evidence boards inside DC's 7th District headquarters looked like a battlefield map: red pins for shootings, yellow for victims, blue for recovered weapons. 7 scenes in 9 hours. 11 wounded. 0 confirmed motives. Detectives worked in near silence, cross-checking timestamps, street cameras, and ballistic reports. The shell casings from Howard Place didn't match those from Savannah Terrace. Different weapons, different neighborhoods, different suspects. But the speed and overlap between each shooting made one thing impossible to ignore: this wasn't normal street violence. If the first chapter of the night was chaos, this was confusion. Even seasoned officers said they'd never seen so many coordinated calls come in so close together. On Howard Place NW, residents were still shaken. It had been homecoming weekend at Howard University: music, food trucks, alumni gatherings, and then, without warning, gunfire that sent hundreds running for cover. "It sounded like fireworks," one witness said, until people started screaming. Detectives found that one of the 5 victims there was just 15 years old, caught between parked cars. Another had been walking home from a store. Within minutes, MPD units swarmed the block, taking 2 men into custody and recovering 3 handguns. Those arrests were the only concrete breakthrough so far. Across town, investigators revisited the Savannah Terrace shooting, the one that started it all. A 5-year-old boy hit by a stray bullet as he played outside his home. His family told reporters he was alert and stable, but the community was furious. "No child should ever be caught in this," said a local pastor during a candlelight gathering the next morning. "This isn't just crime. It's collapse." While detectives ran leads, the city's leaders faced growing pressure. Mayor Muriel Bowser and Chief Pamela Smith promised an all-hands response: saturation patrols, enhanced surveillance, and federal partners from the ATF and FBI assisting with tracing recovered weapons. Inside the department, a quiet debate was brewing. Were these shootings connected, or just a tragic convergence of separate acts? Some pointed to DC's long-standing feud lines between small neighborhood crews. Others believed the surge was retaliation for an earlier shooting earlier in the week. But there was no solid proof, just fear and fatigue. The data team pulled traffic cam footage and matched timestamps. A dark sedan appeared at 2 different scenes hours apart, but the plates were unreadable. Detectives couldn't yet call it a suspect vehicle, but they couldn't ignore it either. As the sun set the following evening, the question hanging over the entire city was simple and terrifying. Was Washington looking at a pattern that might repeat itself the next weekend? Because one thing every officer agreed on: when violence moves this fast, it rarely ends in one night. By Sunday morning, Washington felt uneasy. The city was awake, but no one was really at peace. 7 shootings in one night had left entire neighborhoods holding their breath, each corner now a quiet reminder of how quickly safety can vanish. Police cars idled on side streets. Helicopters traced slow circles above southeast and northwest DC. The yellow tape was gone, but the fear stayed behind. Chief Pamela Smith addressed reporters again. Her tone was firm, but the weight of the week showed in her eyes. "We are still determining whether these shootings are related," she said. "But our priority is clear: finding out who pulled those triggers and why." Detectives were running down every lead. Ballistics tests confirmed that at least 3 different guns were used. That ruled out the theory of a single coordinated gunman, but not the possibility of simultaneous retaliation. The 2 suspects arrested on Howard Place were still being questioned. Both men, in their 20s, faced gun possession charges and were believed to be linked to one of the incidents. Yet police wouldn't say if they were tied to any others. The silence only fueled speculation. In neighborhoods like Congress Heights, Anacostia, and Parkview, residents gathered for vigils. Candles flickered on curbs still stained from the chaos of Friday night. Parents held their children tighter. Local leaders called for unity, pleading for residents to speak up if they knew anything. On Savannah Terrace, the 5-year-old boy who'd been hit was recovering. His mother stood before cameras, her voice trembling but steady. "My son's alive. But there are kids out here who won't be if this keeps going. Please, put the guns down." Her words echoed far beyond her block. By midweek, MPD's night map, the board that tracked all 7 shootings, was filled with new notes and links. Investigators had identified overlapping social connections between victims at 2 scenes, suggesting possible retaliatory motives. But nothing definitive. Federal partners were tracing the recovered firearms, searching for their origins. "Each gun has a story," one agent said. "And those stories will tell us who's responsible." For now, the truth is still unfolding. Washington, D.C., a city already battling record homicide numbers, was forced to confront how fragile life can be when violence ripples through in waves instead of warnings. Community activists called the night a wake-up call. "We talk about policy," one organizer said, "but what we really need is presence, neighbors looking out for neighbors before the gunfire starts." The investigation continues, but the message is already clear: this wasn't just a violent night. It was a reflection of a city caught between grief and resilience, fear and hope, chaos and control. And until every lead is closed, every shell casing matched, and every victim's story told, Washington will keep asking the same question: how did 7 shootings happen in one night, and what will it take to make sure it never happens again?
Subscribe for updates and more stories like this.